Blessings. Welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today's read was out of Genesis chapters 48, 49, and 50. We're finishing up Genesis. It's been such a fun ride and such a lot of good takeaways that have come out of these lessons. We're going to finish up Jacob's story with his sons and the 12 tribes of Israel who are in Egypt right now. In 28:22, Jacob gives Joseph a great blessing, but there's a really interesting thing here that goes along with the 12 tribes of Israel. Jacob had 12 sons, and we kind of, as the story unfolds, we think of the 12 sons as being the 12 tribes of Israel, and for the most part that's true. But here we see Joseph, who has two sons, and Jacob says, I claim them as my own. So he takes two more sons, which makes 14 sons that he has. Well, obviously that's way more than the tribes of Israel. So it gets a little confusing if you're looking at it from that vantage point. But he takes Manasseh and Ephraim and makes them his sons. He adopts them into his family, and they will later become two of the 12 tribes of Israel. And so, there's always this question, well, if they're two of the tribes of Israel, what two tribes or two brothers in the original 12 are not part of the tribes of Israel? And as Israel's history goes on, we see that the Levites are taken out and set apart as priests, and they're not counted as one of the 12 tribes. Joseph, who is their father, is not counted as one of the 12. So you take those two from the 14, you get 12. I know, a lot of math. But there's something else interesting that happens here in this blessing from Joseph as we see and we go down. And it's how it unfolds later when we're reading Revelation and we're reading about the 12 tribes of Israel. Jacob blesses his sons, basically in 48. 49, just one more time. When Jacob blesses Judah, he talks about the leadership of Judah and how the scepter, the rule, the leadership will not pass from his family. So this leadership quality of Judah is passed down, and Judah is a great, however many grandfathers of King David. Incredible leader, right? We see that. King Solomon, wisest man on earth at that point. Again, from this tribe of Judah, from this one guy. And then we go on down to 49:17. And as we're reading this blessing and we're thinking about these tribes of Israel and how they become this great nation, we see the blessing of Dan. And sometimes it's called a blessing, but I wonder if it's a curse, because he tells Dan, you're going to be a serpent. Now, in every place we read in the Bible, serpent is usually described as an evil being, a snake, Satan himself. And so I just got curious and I went to Revelation to look at the 12 tribes of Israel. And in Revelation 7, 4 through 8, where it lists the 12 tribes of Israel, incredibly, Dan's not listed at the end times in Revelation. So just really pay attention to these 12 tribes and how it kind of changes up as it goes along. It's very cool. Then we go into chapter 50, the last chapter of Genesis. And in verse 26, it says, the Egyptians forgot how Joseph saved them. And again, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, mainly because they had a Pharaoh who probably took all the credit for it, because Pharaohs thought that they were actually human gods on this earth. And so anything that would happen under his rule, he would take credit for. I mean, if the police chief has something really bad happen while he's chief of a department, he gets blamed for it, right? So if anything good happens, he gets the credit for it. So Pharaoh gets all the credit. Everybody forgets about Joseph and they become slaves. And we're done with Genesis, just like that. Great lessons. But tomorrow we start in Job. Job chapters 1, 2, and 3. Job's going to be a great read. There's going to be a lot for us in Job. So come back tomorrow, read up and ready to go. Until then, you guys be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow.